How to write an essay, fiction. The essay is divided into what we call a three-part essay. You have a general introduction where you introduce the main theme and the themes, perhaps. And then we have a body where you should put your focus, the characterization, and there are also some terms that you will need to include here. Lastly, you have the conclusion, and the conclusion is meant to connect the dots, so to say, that all of this that you've figured out, you use that in your conclusion to connect to your introduction. So you get a coherent essay. Now, before getting started, you need to ask yourself, what is your task? So this should be your main focus. What words, terms do you need to include? There are a lot of terms, literary terms, that you will have to use here. First and foremost, you need to know what they mean. And if you do not know what they mean, well, you can look them up on the internet. You have access to this. So that is a piece of good advice from me, that you look them up if you do not know what they mean. Now, I've used the short story Dusk Over Atlantic Wolf as an example here. In the introduction, you make, as stated, a general introduction to the main theme, in this case, integration. So, when one moves to a completely new environment, it is obvious that there are many obstacles and new things to understand and learn. Reading this short story, it becomes clear that the main theme is integration. Short and precise. Then you move on to your body. And in your body, you will need to introduce the narrator and the main character, for starters. So the third person narrator focalizes our main character, Lata, as we hear her thoughts and feelings in her meeting with British culture. Now, here we need to also start by introducing her conflict. What is her main conflict? And as an idea, we think that, well, it's integration. So it is because everything seems so strange to her and she misses her home. So our idea, everything is alien to her. The weather is described as grey and cold, and the neighborhood seems empty and unwelcoming. Filled with strangers, not neighbors. She was too afraid to befriend them, not knowing if she would be welcomed and not bothering to find out. So this is our proof. This is our quote that we have taken to prove that she is having this inner conflict, which we will also interpret. From this quote, it becomes obvious that the setting symbolizes Lata's inner conflict of being a stranger in a new country, longing back to her familiar surroundings. So we describe the setting as being cold and empty, which symbolizes her conflict, being afraid of being here. Thus, she is so scared of being turned down that she doesn't even want to try to engage with people living there. Further on a conflict. We are moving on. As the story progresses and we hear more about her background, it becomes clear to the reader that the marriage to Anuj is a choice her father made for her. Before immigrating to Wales, she never met Anuj, and perhaps that is why Lata does not reveal anything to Anuj about her feelings. Now, we do not get to hear anything about Anuj. We do not get to hear about his thoughts and feelings. So we need to figure out where he says things between the lines. And our idea is that he is also struggling with her feelings about being there. Obviously, it doesn't really get the relationship to move on. However, it seems as if Anuj recognizes her struggle, although they do not speak openly about it. Lata knows that she must learn to love Anuj for her own sake. just as her mother has told her. And as Anuj puts it, you must adjust as soon as you can, my dear. Otherwise, things will be more difficult for you. So clearly, Anuj is worried that she will never feel at home in Wales. Through flashbacks, we hear about Lata's former life in India, and it seems as if she's only happy when thinking back, as if she still belongs there. Now, obviously, this is a problem for their relationship and for their marriage if they want to progress, which they would want, I reckon. So likewise, while watching the film, Lata keeps talking about the places and things back in India. For that reason, Arjun says, now watch the film, not the background. Now, the idea is that she is living in the past, and Anuj is obviously concerned about this. And we can interpret it this way. This quote tells us a lot about Lata's stagnant development and the way Anuj tries to tell her that she must try to see the greater picture, not the weather, the empty streets, the language barriers. Instead, she needs to be more open-minded and involved in society. Otherwise, the road to integration will be long. So this is how we interpret this quote here. Now, you could finish it off here, but you kind of need to wrap it up and connect more to the introduction. Connect the dots, wrap up. It is obvious that Lata's situation is an example of just how complicated it can be to integrate, particularly for women who have moved to a new country against their will. Lata does not really want to be there, and for that reason she's apprehensive to the great culture differences she experiences. Furthermore, overcoming barriers of culture similarities is particularly difficult when forced upon you. So we take our main theme, integration, and we use it again in the conclusion. Why is it difficult for Lata, and why would it be difficult for other people as well? Now, lastly, I want you to check some things. First of all, are your points clear to the reader? Meaning, are you speaking in a clear tongue? Can you understand what you're reading? That's a good start. Have you included all the words, and are they used so they come in a clear structure? Meaning that you do not use all the words lastly because you just come to think, oh, I need to include these words. There should be a clear structure. Is this essay coherent? Again, do you have a nice fluency? Do all the sentences connect to each other? And for this, you also need to use the word simplicity and precision. Simplicity does not mean that you can't vary your language. It means that you should not repeat yourself over and over again. Be precise in what you are talking about. And if you can't, well, you really have to try. Lastly, check your grammar errors. I don't think I need to remind you of that, but I will anyways. Okay? Well, good luck. I hope you've understood this a little better.